everyone and welcome to this channel. My name is Janet. I'm working through the King James's Bible. I'm a complete beginner, so I'm not an expert here. I don't pretend to be, but I'm working through each section throughout this year. So today I'm working on Exodus, the book of Exodus, and I'm working through chapters 30 to 32 today. Now, if you've been following along, we've already talked about the tabernacle. So the tabernacle is this holy place that God is asking Moses to build. He's giving specific instructions. And so we've been going through these instructions on how to build it. So we're getting closer now to the end of these instructions. So 30, we're going to talk about making the altar, what that represents. We're going to go through that. Chapter 31 is about the final instructions and just a few more details there. And then we end on chapter 32 with Moses coming down from the mountain, and we will get into the details of what happens there. Okay, so are you ready? Here we go. So we start off by making the altar, which has specific instructions. Now this altar is to be made of gold. It has a certain look. It's got horns on it. And I will just give you a quick visual. So there you have it. That is the altar that we are talking about building today. You can see the two poles there. They're made out of the acacia wood. They're covered in gold, and that's so that nobody touches the altar itself. You keep your hands off it. So that's the altar. So once the altar is made, God then tells Moses where to place it, where it's got to be, and it's got to go in front of the covenant law. So just to give you again another visual on where that is in terms of the tabernacle itself, I have got you a nice picture here. Okay, so there is your visual. You can see there the layout of the tabernacle. You can see the candlestick, and if you just go across from there and down, you can see the incense altar. That's where it goes. It goes just outside of the most holy place, which is where you would commune with God, within there. So it's just outside of there. That's where it is. You see that? Just give it a bit closer. There you go. So now we know how it's made, where to place it. So now what do we do with it? So every morning, incense must be burned by Aaron when he tends to the lamps, and again in the evening. So in the morning and the evening he's got to keep this incense burning, like the candles as well, as we've said in previous chapters. They have to be kept alive like this holiness. So he's got to keep the candles burning, and he's got to keep the incense burning as well throughout the day. So this is to burn regularly for the generations to come, and do not offer any other offering on here. So don't put anything else on this altar. No other burnt offerings, no other liquids, nothing, just this incense. Now there will be a yearly ritual that Aaron will have to do with the altar, and that is to make an atonement. So once a year this has to happen, and he will atone on its horns using blood from the animal to atone for the Israelites' sins. So he's going to go in there and he's going to atone every year, and that's to release all of the sins each year. God also asks for atonement money. Now the Lord said to Moses, "When you take a census of the Israelites to count them, each one must pay the Lord a ransom for his life at the time of counting. Then no plague will come when counted." So each one who crosses over is to give half a shekel, which is a unit of weight, half a shekel, an offering to the Lord, and all who cross over those 20 years or more are to give an offering to the Lord. And it also says about if the rich come, it's half a shekel. If the poor come, it's half a shekel. So it doesn't matter what background you're from, whether you're rich or poor, you all give half a shekel. That is what is required. Nothing less, nothing more. And when this money is received from the Israelites, he'll use it for the tent of meeting. And this is the atonement for their lives. So there'll be a set, this, like I said, the atonement where he's going around once a year. This is the ritual, so they're to give money, and this is all to be used within this ceremony. So the next is the Basin of Washing. Now it's going to be made out of bronze, the basin, and they will place water into it. Now this is for Aaron, because obviously Aaron and his sons are the only ones to go in because they are the holy priests. So they will have to wash their hands and their feet, which is outside of the tent itself, before they go in. Otherwise they will die. So they've got to wash themselves, cleanse themselves, otherwise they're going in with sin on them. So it's to cleanse them of their sins so they can go into this holy place and not be killed. Now next we have the anointing oil. Now God gives Moses specific instructions on what to do with this very specific mixture of oil. And it is to be placed on everything. So in terms of the table, the lamp, the ark itself, all of the accessories, the altar, the utensils, the basin and the stand, and it's to consecrate them all so that they become holy, whoever touches them. So that's what this oil is for. This is to be used by Aaron and his sons only, who are the priests, and says to tell the Israelites, this is God's anointing sacred oil for the generations to come. Do not use it or make it for any other purpose but this sacred place. If anybody does, there are specific instructions here. If anybody makes this oil and uses it for a perfume or something else, God says they'll be cut off from their people. So the next part is the incense. What has that got to consist of? Well, the Lord gives Moses specific instructions again on how to make this beautiful spicy incense for this holy place. There's lots of different spices in there, so check out the links under this video if you want to know specifically, and you'll find the details there. But again, this is holy. Nobody is allowed to use it to burn in their homes or to do anything other than it's got to be used in this holy place, because if they do that again, they will be cut off from their people. So that is the end of chapter 30. So now we'll move into chapter 31. And this is the final tabernacle instructions that the Lord gives to Moses. So it's quite a brief chapter, so we'll quickly skim over this. So he tells Moses to call Bezalel. And Bezalel is the chief artisan. And he wants Bezalel and all the other artisans that are creative to come together to make this tabernacle and all of the instruments and everything that goes within it. These people are the ones that are going to be coming forth to make it. And he continues to give Moses more specific instructions on what to do in terms of using the tabernacle and how the people will use it and how the priests will use it. Just all these details are given. And then God says specifically to Moses that he wants the Israelites to observe the Sabbath. Do not work on the Sabbath. Even if they're making this tabernacle, do not work on the seventh day. Because if you remember in the book of Genesis, God was busy making the world, and he rested. Once he was finished, he rested on the seventh day. So this day is the holy day which everyone has to rest. That's what he is given. And then it says God makes the tablets written by his finger. So how that looks, I don't know, but that's what it says. And then those are to be placed in the Ark of the Testimony. So that closes Exodus 31. So now we move into Exodus 32. This is the real crowning chapter in these 3 chapters today. So here we go, let's get straight into it. So while Moses is up in the mountain, talking to God, getting all these instructions, the people down below are wondering, where is Moses? He's the one who got us out of here. Who the heck is he? And they turn to Aaron then. They start talking to Aaron for some, like, what are we to do? Because obviously Moses has been up there for 40 days and 40 nights. So they think he's abandoned them. And this is how it actually, this is what they say to Aaron. They say, come make us a god who will go before us. As for this Moses, the man who brought us up from the land of Egypt, we do not know what has become of him. So they don't know where he is, and they're feeling obviously a bit lost, and they need something to believe in. So rather than believing in the God that has helped them to get out of Egypt, they decide they need something to worship. And then Aaron responds and says, "Tear off your gold rings, bring them to me." And so the people tore off all the rings that they had and they brought them to Aaron. And he takes all of these rings and he fashioned them with a graving tool and made a molten calf. And then the people look at this calf and they say, "This is your God, O Israel, who brought you up from the land of Egypt." So they're worshipping now a calf instead of God. And this can be quite similar to where they were in Egypt, because in Egypt they used to worship a bull. So it's something familiar to them. It's something they're aware of. That is why this is they've chosen a calf out of any other thing to make into something to worship. So then Aaron builds an altar to this calf, and then he proclaims, "Tomorrow shall be a feast to the Lord." So they're having a feast to this calf. And so the people get up, they have burnt offerings, peace offerings, they start drinking, and then they start dancing, and then they've just gone into this world of celebrating this golden calf. Now in the meantime, Moses is still up the mountain with God, and God, obviously being God, knows what's going on down there, and he tells Moses, and he says to Moses, "I have seen this people, and behold, they are an obstinate people." He's getting angry. "Now let me alone, that my anger may burn against them, and I may destroy them, and I will make of you a great nation." So he wants to, because he's so angry about what they're doing, he wants to just kill them and start afresh with Moses, who's the only holy person he feels left. The rest have just lost the plot, and he's thinking, "Right, Moses, you're it. Let's get rid of these and let's start afresh." And Moses says, "O Lord, why does your anger burn against your people, whom you've brought out of Egypt with your mighty hand?" Like he's asking the Lord, why are you getting angry? Come on, you brought them here. You did all of this work, all those plagues, remember, to get them all out of here. You've given so many instructions to bring them to this place. And then he even adds more. He says, "The Egyptians will say with an evil intent you brought them out to kill them." So yeah, he's going to be seen pretty bad by the Egyptians, because they'll be like, "Look, he took the people out of here and then he's killed them all." It's like he's a pretty evil God, so he's playing on God's reputation, really. And also, as a third reason as to why would he want to do this, he says, "Remember the promise that you made to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Israel. You said you'd multiply their descendants and they would inherit the land forever." So he's given 3 really great reasons as to why he doesn't want to kill these people. And so the Lord changes his mind. See, Moses is stronger than he actually thought he was. Remember at the beginning, he didn't really want to take on this leadership role, and yet look at him now. He's turning things around with the Lord himself. So it's pretty special. So now Moses comes down the mountain, and he's sort of probably quite pleased that, he's managed to change the Lord's mind. But when he gets back down to the bottom of the mountain and he sees all of the people there dancing around this calf and just losing it, he gets so angry, and he has the tablets in his hands and he throws them on the ground. And then he goes straight towards the calf, gets hold of it, burns it, and then when it's got to ashes, he crushes it so it's in ashes, then he pours it into water, and then he makes all of the people drink the water, which is so bitter they have to drink it. It's like, oh. So he's really making a statement like, "What have you done, people? You've got to wake up." So then Moses looks to Aaron and says, "What did these people do to you that you brought such great sin on them?" And Aaron said, "I asked whoever has any gold to tear it off, and so they gave it to me, and I threw it into the fire, and out popped this calf." So there's part of the truth in there, but not the whole truth. And so he's kind of like treading a thin line. So Moses then stands at the gate of the camp and says, "Whoever is for the Lord, come to me." And all the sons of Levi gather together towards him. So they're the ones that obviously believe. They come forth. And then Moses says to them, "Every man of you put his sword upon his thigh and go about the camp and kill every man his friend and every man and his neighbour." And so they did what Moses says. And about 3,000 men were killed that day. 3,000 of them killed. And that ends chapter 32. Like, what a momentous chapter that is. That chapter has really struck me at a young age because I saw Charlton Heston play Moses in the movie, and that scene in the movie to me was so transformational, just to see how people can quickly sort of turn, and how to see somebody idolize something gold like that, and it really struck a chord with me, yeah, and it's stuck with me ever since. So, you know, if you want to understand Moses, the story of Moses, I would recommend watching that movie. It's a really powerful movie. It stuck with me since I was in my teens, and I remember it to this day. So these 3 chapters, for me, again, it's showing about having a holy place, but a holy place that is not something which is seen, I guess. The way this tabernacle is built, it's very much sort of covered, isn't it? You don't see it. It's not something to idolize, and only certain people can go in who have been cleansed of their sins. It's not like something you see wide open in the air. It's like something sacred. We keep things sacred, you know, because they get tainted, don't they? So it's like, keep it sacred. And then he gets specific people with talents to make it so that it looks so special, and look at the work that has gone into it, and the rituals that go with it are to make people realize what is actually holy, you know, to keep something sacred within ourselves. And our hearts are a holy place. They are sacred, you know. Our hearts are such a sacred part of us, you know. If we didn't have a heart, we wouldn't be here. And that heart, I think, is the true connection to the source within and outside. You know, it's that all-encompassing omnipresence that allows us to then follow it. And that is what we have to do with our lives. Follow the inner guidance, not the external guidance, which is what these chapters really show to me. When people have sought outside of themselves, they've lost themselves. Stay within. Listen to your inner world with God. And that is the only way that you will really find your true path and calling here. So I hope you've enjoyed these chapters. I know I have, and I wish you all a beautiful, blessed day, and we'll be back tomorrow for more. If you want to join me then, great. Hope to see you soon. Take care. Bye for now.